All right, good evening and welcome to the latest episode of the Eve Prosper Market Show. I'm your host, Lockefox, and here we are with episode 95 of the Eve Prosper Market Show. Without further ado, let's get straight into it and start where we always do, talking about the show. Thank you, everyone who tuned in live. I know we are one day late. Thank you for everybody who can tune in here on Cinco de Mayo. Had internet problems last night. Windstorm blew in, made everything unstable. I figured a full show with no interruptions was better than half a show and a bunch of swearing. So here we are this week. And so let's go ahead and get straight from the top. Number one, if this is your first show, I have some terrible news for you. The show is ending at episode 100. That's only a few more weeks left. We're going to be heading into space retirement and looking to live off in developer land. Now, don't be sad. Don't unsubscribe. We do plan to continue making content. I just can't guarantee that it's going to be Eve focused moving forward. If you are looking for more market news and more market content, well, don't fear. There are plenty of other Eve market guys working really hard these days. You may not have heard of them. Number one is DeLone Wolf at Eve Talk. He does a very similar show to this. I believe he's on Saturdays broadcasting. Number two is Christopher Mellen, also on YouTube, is doing a daily update on the minerals and ice markets, being powered by some of our graphs here. And number three is Rodin over at EVNT TV, is broadcasting on Tuesdays at 0100, Wednesdays at 0100. That's Tuesday night U.S. time. And he's doing a little more predictive, a little more personal sort of speculator show. So if you can't get enough of market stuff, go get subscribed to those guys as well. Number two, keep subscribed here because we're going to be coming back hopefully at the end of the summer with more content for developers, trying to get maybe an IRL split lean to this, try to get some more editorial content out, start trying to make it so that everybody can do data science the way we do data science is kind of the plan. There's been a lot of interest from others that to sort of be an everyman's show on that, and I'd very much like to start making something in a partially derivative programming throwdown. What's the other one? Data skeptic sort of bend, and I'd really appreciate it if you guys came along with me for the ride. With that, the last little pieces of news is get subscribed on, all you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll get you to Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and our blog. Do join our Discord. Links are down in the doobly-doo below. That is the very best place to get in touch with me. I do love talking to you guys, and I do love answering your questions, no matter if they are Market 101 questions or really complicated philosophical ones, I guess. I haven't got any of those yet. Like, can God make a burrito so spicy that not even he can eat it? Let's see. The last piece that I want to touch on before we get into the show proper is that we do have a Patreon, and it will run until the end of June. Why should you support a Patreon for a dying show? Good question. If you want to keep the profit endpoint that we just released up and running in perpetuity, every bit of money that goes into our Patreon from here on in is going towards solutions to make sure that endpoint stays up as long as absolutely possible. We're working right now to get it easier to shard out so that we can drop it on something like DigitalOcean and just keep it running in perpetuity. So your dollars are specifically going to keep things up and running for the Eve community as long as possible. We should be in a good place to do so, but of course, every dollar counts. Now, you don't want to send us money, I completely understand. Do get subscribed. Do tell your friends about the greatest market show on the air. And do try to do come join our Discord so that we can all talk shop. So without further ado, I want to move straight into the news and actually get this show rolling. All right. Let's start where we always do, talking about Plex. So Plex is in a very weird holding pattern ahead of the Plex split coming on Tuesday. just a few days left. One quick note, if you are using our profit endpoint, I am having a hard time making sure we're ready for the Plex split. Next week might be a bad one for me, and we might end up with a skipped show or stuff because of updates. I have been scrambling my butt off trying to make sure that we're ready for that split. And the fact that CCP is not really willing to backload the data is kind of screwing me. So I'll keep things going as best I can. I'm really hoping that they backload the data. I tried to make a good case to the people in charge to backload the data. We'll see if it sticks. And I got to get in touch with our other dependency, Eve Market, not Eve Market Data, Eve Central, to make sure that we keep collecting data through the split. So it shouldn't be a problem, but, well, Eve Central has a nasty habit of bouncing IDs that don't exist, and I'm sort of at their mercy to when they update their endpoint. So Plex staying steady, staying around 125. If we look at the 1 year plot, this is a lot more generous than I really think is fair. We've been on this tear going up, but we are flattening out pretty hard here at the top, just about at 1.25. I expect, going into the Plex split, I expect a 15% drop, which puts us right above 1.0 billion. We could go slightly under. It is a possibility. I would not bank on it, though, because I think there's going to be enough holding pressure to keep things standing. As we look, we saw a big glut of Plex come onto the market as people are looking to cash out at the top. Interesting to see that so many new orders hit the market, but the prices didn't really fall. This might signal that there's a lot of orders put up to try and catch an upswing. But that's a lot of pressure. We basically tripled the number of Plex for sale at the moment, but we're keeping prices steady. Let's see. So let's talk about the Plex split mechanically for a second. Do note that once we go into the downtime for 119.5, every Plex order will be canceled, and outstanding orders are supposed to be refunded their fees. But according to Revra, there is a distinct possibility they might not be, that there might be a bug, and it may not have been fixed yet. It was a surprise to CCP once it was brought up to them at FanFest. So I would be cautious, especially if you're one of these guys with a lot of extra stuff in there. I would hope that we are going to slide down into a pre-Plex price around 1.2, a pre-split price around 1.2, that this extra pressure was going to push us down. Interesting to see that it didn't. I'm not really sure what is going on right this second. Again, I sort of expected to go down to 1.2 and then down to 1.0 once the split hits. And we might actually see it go down in two chunks, where we go down to 1.1 or just under 1.1 on Tuesday and Wednesday. We gain back a little bit, heading back towards to 1.5. Everybody puts out their panic blogs about Plex is crashing, the sky is falling. We double down to 1.0 is kind of the pressure I expect to see. I expect to see a two-tiered thing going on here, where the marketeers are ready on Tuesday to execute on the split and gobble up the cheap Plex, and then the weekend warriors to come and panic once the new value's been hit. At least a lot of the murmurs I hear is that there's a lot of ARM that's going to be coming into Plex, and kind of have to think of that like birthday money to a lot of these players who may not already be invested in Plex, the kind of people who might not have more than 1 or 2 billion liquid at any time. all of a sudden getting this multi-billion-esque infusion, I expect a lot of that money to come rushing into the market and come flying out of Plex as people cash out that birthday money. We'll see. I'm actually ready to be disappointed that we'll just stay steady at 115 and I'll eat all of my words. But that's sort of the expected effect, the story I'm going to tell. Next, moving on to skill trading. If you are looking to maximize your speculative dollar, the strategy I've been telling people who have asked is that I would be cashing out Plex now, trying to get your 125, and moving that into injectors. If you're the sort of person who's looking to sort of do some liquidation, try to get some skill points out of your thing and jump onto injectors, because I expect injectors to move much slower. Again, we see that despite the price of Plex rising pretty linearly, we see a lag in the rise for injectors. We just see margin getting eaten rather than prices actually getting pushed all the way up. This is sort of the hedge I expect to see going into the thing, is that it will fall. It will just fall more slowly. So if you were thinking of liquidating some skill points, putting some brains on the market, I would try to get your cash now, wait for the split, buy up extractors after the split, and then sell the injectors by the weekend before it has time to really collapse. Pressures are reasonably low. Prices are staying relatively steady. And though I expect it to track the price of Plex, I expect it to do so slowly. So this is sort of your hedge against Plex problems in the short term. I still expect this is basically, if you're sitting on Plex right this second and you want to do the very best move possible is cash out now, rebuy in at 10% lower. If you're looking to do skill injectors, this would be a great time to get into injectors, though it's coming down is the other half of that problem. So that is, I've been asked a couple of times by people who wanted to liquidate skill points, and that was my babbling advice on that particular topic. Moving on to market indexes, things are staying relatively steady. Net trade, the interesting things to see here is general weakness in the mineral markets, overall strength in the RMT markets ahead of the split, but a downtrending across the board outside of RMT. So so this is the rant. So I had this rant last week that the anime war is bullshit and you guys should just fucking shoot each other. And why aren't you shooting each other? And like, once again, we're in another week of downward pressure across the board. We really need a good war, and everybody's just slinging memes instead of actually killing each other. So I'm a little upset here watching the mineral values track down, watching the ship values stay flat. And there's just not a ton of market stuff to going on here, and it's kind of breaking my heart. We have upward trends in a lot of cash getting sucked into the RMT market, but the total net trade staying steady. So that tells me that people are walking out of investments elsewhere and trying to park into Plex, but I don't know. This is weird. I wouldn't be buying Plex right now, and because you should be waiting to buy, you should be holding on to cash to buy Plex after the split when everybody comes rushing to the market to get their free money. I don't know. It's weird. I don't like it. It's making me mad. Looking at kills, again, another week in kills as we track down. destruction staying steady at 1 trillion ISK. I would really like to see 10% more destruction going on. I'd like to see keep stars getting blown up. But yeah, no, nothing's happening. It's a quiet week, and without this pressure, it's really hard to chew through it's really hard to keep the gears turning in the market. Next, so the MER data, the monthly economic report, was released today. So thank God that that came out, that we had the delay. We were able to put the data in. But bad news, the raw CSV data is not in the monthly economic report, which means I can't run my frickin' reports. So, hi Quant, I love you, but can I have the raw data, please? I didn't realize until like 30 minutes before I went on the air that the data was missing. So I went ahead and sent out a tweet to the guys, and I won't attribute to malice what is probably just a bug, a copy-paste bug. But I wish I had that data. The good news, the very good news this month, is that the mining data is fixed. Hallelujah. Finally get to see the mining report actually be accurate. Interesting to see that since the Rourke nerf, which you can see very clearly destroying the returns here, we've seen a slump in production productivity, and that's actually pretty interesting. So I've said this on a couple of shows, both here and elsewhere, that I didn't think the actual mining yields coming out of Rourke's was a bad idea, because I thought that it gives you an opportunity to basically say supers cost half as much. And if supers cost half as much, well, then you can start being really diabolical and sort of do a 1-2 punch and say, well, there's all these new supers out there, and well, everybody and their mom has a super. So you know what? We're going to drop the EHP on them 25% or 30%. And now you guys can go ahead and put them to work, but they're going to explode. So, but they're only 10 billion. So like, there's not that big a step between a Pimpy Dread and a super in that case. And it becomes a much more level engagement curve, but looks like we're coming back from there. It looks like a lot of the mineral prices are tracking up so that we're going to be talking about 15 billion ISK supers instead of 10, which I'm a little sad about. I was hoping to keep the crazy mining activity going because I have opinions about the money supply. I would love to have them on this show, but I can't have them on the show because we didn't have the raw data. So moving on. Also great to see the key economic figures out with the updated mining values. Interesting to see that Delve is basically the sum total of everywhere else. Still, despite the nerf, and Delve and Declan leading the chart in NPC bounties. Like, this is some serious bounty making. So my worry here in the long term continues to be that I think bounty payouts are too high and they're leading to instability. And so if you go check out, I was on Talking in Stations last week, and CCP Quant was on there too, and we talked about how, so I've said for months that you can run a hot system. There's nothing inherently wrong with any of the numbers being as high as they are. The problem is the hotter the system, the faster things can go wrong. And now with the rest of the market cooling off, and we're heading into a protracted peacetime with not a ton of activity, coming into the summer, which tends to be the lowest activity time of the year, but we still see 2 trillion ISK a day getting printed in NPC bounties. We're going to run into a lot of problems over the summer with the Plex prices if we don't start seeing this turn around. And Quant had expressed some, well, we'll talk about that. Quant had expressed in the podcast that CCP would like to. So if you look at looking at this chart, the thing that it doesn't say, that isn't inherently obvious, is that 90-something% of the ISK getting printed into the game is coming from bounties. And that means that of the tools in CCP's disposal to add money through other means, whether that be through more blue loot or through different missioning platforms or other special events, other mechanical things they could add, are balanced against the fact that all of the money in the game is coming out of these old school rats. And so it had been my hope that we wouldn't have to directly nerf rats, that we'd be able to increase the AI, increase the complexity, and by doing so, reduce the ISK per hour, increase the ISK per effort, increase the effort per ISK. But I don't think that's going to happen. And frankly, we're in a spot where if you are a crystal ball looker and you're trying to talk about where we will go, we could be seeing a nerf before the summer recess. I would actually hope that Quant and Recurve are talking right now ahead of vacation time to see if there's anything that can be done ahead of the winter sprint to get this addressed before CCP takes its summer vacations. So this is worrying. This is problematic. And if it doesn't get a cap on it very soon, we could be running off the rails in a spectacular fashion. And that much extra cash in the game can have a poisonous effect down the line. Once players have a thing, it's really hard to unhave the thing, that's kind of the problem here. Moving on to minerals. We start in Tritanium, staying steady at, 4.6, 4.7. Not a lot of volume going on. Again, things are kind of quiet this week. Supplies are tracking up. The price is slumping down to 4.5. It's an okay buy-in point if you can get one of these sub 4.5 buy orders, but it's a risky bet, and Trit is heavy, and I don't really love speculating in it. Next, Pyrite. Things are staying steady between 5.5 and 5.8. Not a lot of action going on here. The volumes, again, staying a little bit lean. Not as lean as we expected. Volumes are staying relatively steady, so prices should stay in the band they are in now. Nothing to say here for speculators. I did expect that supplies would rise slightly going into this week, but I think that lowered activity in general is causing things to stay quiet otherwise. Next, Mexilon. So if you've been watching our profit endpoint at Adam for Eve, it believes that Mexilon will be at 100 on something like March 12th. Sorry, not March 12th, May 12th. It keeps saying that. And I don't disagree that we can get to 100. It's just that we need a war to break out to get there. So things are staying steady in the 75 range. Volumes are a little bit lean. This low 72 is a really great chance to buy in, but you're targeting an 80 selling order, and unless things get really interesting before Memorial Day, you might get screwed. So it's not a bad bet to jump in on, but I don't know if you'll make any positive return on it. I don't think you'll lose money. You just won't make any money, which is not a terrible bet to make. Next, Isogen is finally coming out of its hole. We've been at bouncing around 50 for a little bit, and we're at like 53, looks like, here on the chart. Again, volumes very thin. Volumes are tracking up in order counts, so I expect this positive pressure to come back down under 52. We'll see if this trend sticks. It's a 50-50 shot on whether it stays. But here staying the 50 to 53 sort of, this sort of range is kind of where I expect it to stay. Noxium. Now, Noxium was interesting. We saw it spike, drop, spike, and now it's dropped again on pretty high volumes. Looks like there might be some extra speculative action going on here. If we zoom on in, there's still some action to be had, I think. Watching the supply chain collapse means that we could be in for another spike here. Now, the space here is not quite the 10% I'd like to see. You'd really need to be buying in closer to 350 and aiming for something at a 420 every day. But the prices are staying relatively steady. If we look here, like, it's hard to believe we're going to get all the way back up to the 420 point we hit, but it's possible. It's just unlikely. It's weird to see supplies this lean right here. And as volatile as they are, we keep adding and contracting 50 million or 100 million units off the market. It's an unstable, volatile spot. I'm kind of interested that prices aren't as volatile here in the end prices. Zydrine, one that I've been picking on for months, is back under 1K, just under. And supplies are peaking under the 100 million mark. So going into the weekend, we might see a peak. And if you're really fast on your game, you might be able to get one of these 95 to 980 to 950 ISK buy orders and sell for a 105, which isn't a bad markup for like a 1-day hold. But it's risky. I don't really love it, but I'm tempted with how low the supplies are at the moment. Moving on to Megasite. Megasite has seen a recent resurgence, going from 13 to 1350, and not a lot to say here in the volume market. It's a little bit lean, but not that lean. We're seeing supplies drop again here, just like in Zydrine, so we could see some more action closer to 1.4K. It's hard to say we can make it all the way to 14 from where we're standing, and there's not a lot of buy order possibility right here. But yeah, it's Moving on to Morphite, we had said a couple weeks ago we were looking really good, just over 10K. There were some spikes even higher, and we're back down to 9.5K this week. Again, supplies are back where they were before, and we're back in a buy regime here at 9.5. If you can get under 9.0 buy orders, I mean, take them. It's free money. But until the gears of war really start turning, there's nowhere for this Morphite to go. Now, I will reiterate that I do have a long bet on Moon Materials that Morphite could be a quiet sleeper. And this would be a great opportunity to be slowly building a stockpile over the next 3 months, 4 months ahead of the new release. But it's a risky bet, and you could end up holding a lot of material for and not see the return. But like this is the sort of thing I would believe for similar to buying P4s ahead of Citadel. It seems obvious. Well, it may not seem obvious. It sort of seems obvious, and everybody sort of panics, and then they forget, and then they panic, and then they forget. And my bet here is purely a speculative statistics one, and Fozzie could ruin my day on this one at any point. It basically stands on the back of doubling the returns on moon materials, doubling the number of units returned, and that dumping the prices of T2. But if we dump the prices of T2, we raise the number of units bought and sold, and I don't think that there is that much extra Morphite supply to hold up that doubling of the demand curve. So if this were me, and I were looking to build a position ahead of the moon mining update, I would be basically taking 10% or 15% of my profit margins week over week, and I'd be playing generous Morphite buy orders. I'd be playing something under a 9K, maybe some of these 875s. I'd be watching this market every week and trying to just get up, 1,000 units here and 1,000 units there, get to basically 10 billion-esque worth of them over the course of months, just, onesie twosie sort of thing. If I can't get paid on it, like, okay, I have 10 billion-esque of this stuff that I don't get an extra benefit from, and I have to unspin and try to get my 10% margin, I only take home a billion-esque. If my long bet is correct, then, and the price doubles or triples or quadruples because we hit a supply shortage, then here I am in JITA with my 10 billion units, 10 billion-esque worth of units, and I can come and reap all of the rewards once the market panics. It's going to take a lot of patience, and I wouldn't put all of my money in it right this second. I would do it slowly, and I'd build a stockpile like week over week, the same way you build a savings account. It's making a lot of assumptions, and it's a reasonable amount of risk, but we're going to do it in portions so we don't end up with one big wallet blob screwing up our accounting for months. We do it little by little by little. That's the advice here. Moving on, because we are behind schedule. Moving on to fuel that makes the world turn round. Interesting to see that oxygen isotopes continue to climb. I'm wondering how many people may have been switching their reaction farms to Galente. It's not the best idea. Galente gets you more silo space, and it's my personal one because I'm lazy, but Caldari lets you put 2 reactions on 1 tower. We're seeing the prices start to fall on the nitrogen isotopes, but continue to climb on the oxygen isotopes. The other long bet ahead of the moon mining change is that helium and hydrogen are really good buys here at 650. And again, if you wanted to buy in little by little, so you didn't get completely screwed, this is not a bad chance, because remember the dev blog says that even though we're not going to have the traditional POS architecture, the recipes for the advanced materials will need to use isotopes to build them. So I expect everything to sort of head towards convergence at about 750, 800. And if you believe me, oh man, is this 650 a frickin' steal? It's a long bet. It's a risky bet. And it's not going to pay off for months. You could be holding the ball until December, unfortunately. So I'd be really careful about putting a lot of money into this, but it's tempting. It's tempting as hell for me. Next, looking at blocks, not a lot interesting going on here. We're just seeing everything sort of stay in its regular strata. Oxygen is a little overvalued given the position it's in, and the hydrogen helium fuel blocks are way overvalued given the production margin. I'm actually really surprised they are that positive right now. So I mean, if you're sitting on blocks, then that's actually a great margin. Or if you can build them this week, this is a good one. Strontium is our canary in the coal mine for Sov warfare. This is our number 2 stat for saying that the anime war is bullshit. Seeing as there have been no big buyouts of supply and we just keep stacking and stacking and stacking this stuff to the rafters, well, that tells me that nobody's actually fighting each other. So anime war is just a forum war, which is really the most depressing thing I've seen in EVE in a very long time. That we'd rather sling memes than actually cause spaceship explosions is really depressing. Next, Heavy Water. We've been watching. This is kind of our Rorqual, one of our Rork indexes right now. Supplies are stacking up again. A little bit interesting to see that it looks like there may have been some Rorks coming back online. But with looking at the April data and the mining stats, I don't know how much really was happening. So this supply buyout is a little interesting, but we're recovering back to the 200 million units. Not a lot to say here on the price side. All right, moving on to outlier analysis. Looking across the board at advanced materials, there looks like there's some volatility in the middle with hypersynaptic fibers, nanotransistors, and fulleриdes and phenolic composites. That section is looking like a good speculative buy at the moment. This slump in nanotransistors isn't backed up by anything in the Moon Goose side. So I'd be interested to see, like, this is a pretty good buy right now at the 2,600 a unit. I don't know when this will turn around. I'd be looking to sell at 3,000 again if I were buying in here. Phenolic composites is looking like if you had bought in, it might start tracking up soon. And fulleриdes looks like it's taking a hard dip into the weekend. Would be a good chance to slurp up a few units just for speculations purposes. But otherwise, and terahertz metamaterials are on a tear for no particular reason. But otherwise, things are staying pretty quiet. When I went through the raw Moon Goose stats, I didn't see anything really jumping out at me. You may disagree if you go check the R16s. So things like, I'm going to put myself on the spot here. I want to say scandium, not titanium, but thulium. No, thulium's one of the higher ones. A lot of the less rare middle components are showing some instability, but not a whole lot to say in those markets right this second. Actually, the metamaterials, I lied. The metamaterials, both plasmonic and terahertz, are on a tear. So if you bought in, now's a good time to sell. But I didn't see a good buy-in opportunity here going on. So moving on to PI4, this would be a good chance to start buying up onesie twosie units ahead of releases. I think the prices are going to fall even further over the summer as we go into the summer slumps. So I don't know if I'd start building my Moon Goose stockpile. That's not the word I'm looking for. The new refinery stockpile yet. I'd actually probably be aiming for something in late July. Try to get in the prices there. It's kind of a weak spot right this second, and you might start seeing some weirdness at the split as people may be try to liquidate stockpiles to get more cash. There might be some weirdness, but that's a really long bet, and I don't know if I can say that with a straight face. And then next, in the salvage market, drone transceivers are going nutso. Almost doubled in price in the last 2 weeks. There hasn't been a release yet, so it's not like there was a change in the drop rates, but and there's not been a change in the supply and demand really going on down here. but prices just keep on climbing. And unfortunately, I don't have a zoom in on this one, so I'm not sure exactly what's going on in this market, but it is completely on a tear going on at the moment. Next, looking at slashers is an interesting one. We looked at all the minerals, and everyone's basically flat. And then we come into slashers, which are basically just minerals. They take almost no effort or energy to do the thing. And the prices have dumped pretty hard over the last week. Looks like there may have been some weird speculative buyouts and some weird people playing a weird game against each other, but prices are low. And if you need slashers, now prices have been slashed. I'll show myself out. Next, I do owe somebody a shout out on this one. Sebastian pointed out that the Vigil Fleet issue was going a bit nuts this week. Looks like there has been some action to pump up the price and dump it. This might have been somebody playing along from Faction Warfare loyalty points, trying to make a quick buck ahead of a sellout. It's interesting to see the supply chain get hobbled, prices come up, and then a huge sell-off of 100 units compared to the general 20 per day. Here, somebody set a trap and sprung it gloriously, and hopefully they made a whole ton of money off of it. We don't usually see successful what's the word I'm looking for? Manipulation. A lot of people think they can manipulate the price of stuff, and that they're just so smart, and I'm going to buy all this out and then reset the price and make a ton of money off the supply chain. And what usually happens is they buy out all the prices up to a target price, and they think they can resell everything at that target price, but then all the rest of the market sort of flows back in to take advantage of the same price that you tried to pump up. And the prices fall right down. You lose your freaking shirt on all the expensive units you bought out to get to the price you wanted. And this was a really excellent manipulation play, is what it really looks like to me, where somebody came in and probably over the course of a week or so saw the number of units really get low. He then sprung the trap, reset the price, and because the volume was so low, he wasn't as susceptible to people coming and flowing back in, because there just aren't that many Vigil Fleet issues out there. It's not that popular a ship. And he didn't set the price so high as to be ludicrous, and got to enjoy 2 or 3 good days of speculated price. So this is how you do it, boys, is that you look for something that's a bit on the low side. You try to make sure you can spring the trap in such a way that the market can't just flow back in under you. And it's really... It's a really, really well done. I know it doesn't look like much, but this is well done. This is the way you're supposed to do it. You're not just supposed to buy out every unit of Trit and think that you're the king of Trit. That's not the way to do it. Oh, and if you want to go look for opportunities like this, you should go to adamforeve.eu, and at the bottom of the profile pages for every item is a buy and sell order depth chart, and that will give you a better look at how many orders are between you and a target price, both on the buy and the sell side. And that's been one of my favorite tools to mess with when I've been doing some onesie-twosie speculation myself, is to go into a thing, look at the profit outlook, and say, oh well, the buy volume there's only a few orders at the buy price where it is now, and then there's a big gap to price 10% lower. Well, I can go place my buy order in there and take the profit outlook saying that it's going to be positive, wait for a swing to come down and give me a bunch of items, and then as it swings back up, sell at the top where profit tells me to sell it, and make extra money. So that's at least the way I see these plays. Next, Rattlesnake is in for a nosedive at the moment. Supplies are super hot, and I'd expect the sell orders to dip under 350, maybe even a little bit lower going into the weekend. So if you need rattlesnakes, now is a great chance to stock up. I don't know if this is a good speculator target yet. We really need this buy floor to fall a little bit lower. I'd really like to see 320 if it were me, but that's because I'm greedy. But with this many units on sale, we may end up seeing this floor give way down to the 330 mark, which would be okay enough. If you can get 330 and get out over 360, like, it's not a bad profit. Next, Orthus was another interesting one. This one isn't usually on our radar, but looks like there was a surge in prices, but we're coming back down to the regular spot. If you are a betting man, this would be a pretty decent chance to be buying up into this weekend. Though I don't like betting on 3 patterns. I do like betting on 2 patterns, and we could be in for an overcorrection under the 220 million mark. And if you can get under 220 million, I think that's a pretty decent buy. And it's easy to get 10 or more units of this stuff and actually sell it. And target something over at 240 million. And I think you could be counting your money to the bank. It is a gamble. You could buy in at 220 and have to sell at 220, which would suck. But I don't think we're going to go down to 210 is the way I sort of expect this to go. And you can look like a super genius, betting ahead of the curve here. And I think it's an interesting opportunity to make, and it has an opportunity to soak up a lot of money if it actually works. So we'll be watching this over the next couple of weeks to see if I know what the hell I'm talking about. Next, the Naga spiked out. Again, minerals are staying flat, but Naga has spiked up 10%, a little bit more than 10%. Not sure if this is a signal of a burn Jita event. Or if just somebody has decided that Nagas are the new shit. We're not seeing a lot of volume practice here, a lot of action in the volume markets, so not sure exactly what's driving this. But it's an opportunity. I'd be very careful watching this. It could be a precursor to some military action. Maybe if you want to put your tinfoil on super tight, goons are going to lock down Jita over the weekend of the Plex split just to mess with people. Would be really funny, but I really doubt they can do it. Next, the Falcon is doing another particular spike. This one, for you buyers out there, I would be watching for it to overcorrect down to, let's say, the 210 mark. It might go a little bit below. What ends up happening a lot of these times in this kind of product is that prices spike, producers get enthusiastic, they overproduce, and the prices nosedive. And what I'd be looking for is a 200 buy order to hold on to, because I don't know if we'll see this pattern a third time or if we'll just stay flat over the summer. It could spike again, and I think 200, 210 isn't a bad buy-in, but I wouldn't be wanting to buy more than 5 or 6 of these for my portfolio. Another interesting doubler this week, not quite doubler, let's say 50%, is the Explosion Deflection Field 2. Again, not sure if this is tied to the Naga. Again, this smells funny to me that the Naga and the Explosion Deflection Field 2s both spiked the same week. Something is rotten in the state of Denmark. I just don't know what. Here's the part where somebody's doing something and all I can see are the waves in the pool. I can't actually see what they're doing. Covert Ops cloaking device has been rather volatile and looks undervalued at the moment. So if you wanted to buy up a few units, this is not a bad bet for beginners. I'd especially think that buying in at buy orders right now, targeting a 4 million 4.6 million buy order is not a bad place to park a little bit of play money. We're looking like we might be hitting one of the technical analysis conversion points and targeting a 5 million sell-off. You know, I like, who's going to go wrong really buying Covert Ops cloaking devices twos? Like, you'll probably make your money back. I just don't know how much you'll make. And I don't know when you'll make it. And then I think this is the last one for this week, is the Highest Yoda Research Labs. Interesting to see these spike with the drop dead date for POS basically written in the stars now. We see that that POS should be retired as soon as shortly after the drilling platforms come online, because everything you'd need a POS to do will have now been covered by Citadel and deployables. And Highest Yoda's has an extra bonus, but I can't imagine that it's really better than having a Sotoyo or a Ritaru. And it's interesting to see the prices spike. People might be buying these up as a collector's item. I'm glad that they spiked because I just sold off a bunch of them. That was more me liquidating backstock, and I just am not sentimental about these. And it'll be interesting to see. I wonder if CCP will actually go and fix the drop for Highest Yoda's research labs once POS are deprecated, or if this will end up being a mines problem all over again. Oh, we got one more before we leave. The large auxiliary nano pump 2s. We brought up last week that they were high, and we bring them up this week that they are low again. So I hope you made some money on my prediction that I didn't give. And if you bought, like, then now would be a decent chance to buy in, but you're sort of betting on lightning striking twice, and it's risky. All right, and prediction review, we've got nothing because I was bad this week. And violence report, moving on. Active ships. So pardon me, the two graphs are not properly aligned because of a bug. That's my fault. Nothing interesting here in the mixes. The Rourke continues to be popular, but is tracking down. We're not seeing any big whelps other than this big, what looks like Stratios, or Rattlesnake whelp. Again, that's a bad color. Here in the Macarial whelp, on May Day, kind of funny. Looks like all those Macarials may have been lost in GE Tech 8JV. Things have been reasonably hot out in Null, looks like, in both GE and 7RM. Pretty good this week. Unfortunately, general PvP stats are down, and we didn't see anything saying that replacing all of these max is a problem. It looks like if they got whelped, it's really not that big a deal. And then active regions, we see Catch leading and Providence. Oh, look, people are actually fighting in Providence the last couple of days. Who would have known? That is where the anime war is supposedly going on. Anyway, let me thank everybody for tuning in this week. I have been your host, Lockefox. This has been the Eve Prosper Show. Do get subscribed to us on Twitch, YouTube, and Twitter. All you got to remember is Eve Prosper. That'll find us on all those platforms. Do join us on our Discord. That is the very best place to get in touch with me if you ever want to talk shop. And if you want to support the show, the very best way to do so is through our Patreon. We're using that as a way to lock up a fund for making sure that products can continue to run, so we can continue to scrape data, we can continue to serve data. If you want to support us in our space retirement to keep our products running, that is the best place to do so. If you can't support us, that's perfectly fine. I totally understand, but do keep tuned in, because even though this show might be ending, I think we're going to have some good treats in store for the people who do enjoy this kind of content. So do get subscribed, do follow along. Thank you again for tuning in live. If you want to tune in live, we are still broadcasting live on Friday nights at 0300 US time. That's Thursday night US. And I know that we were on a weird time slot this week. You can blame Comcast and power outages. So thank you, everybody who tuned in. We will be back next week. I have been your host, Lockefox. This has been the Eve Prosper Show, and we are out.